Hello, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including OKKO Season 3, which we'll be talking about today. I'm your host, Alex Bonilla, and today I'm joined as usual by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Steve Zec.
Hi.
Today we are discussing the first 6 episodes that have been released to the Cartoon Network app, and they will be airing on TV on a weekly basis. We have today to talk about We Are Heroes, KO Rad and Enid, TKO Rules, KO vs. Fink, Chip's Damage, and the KO Trap. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. As usual with OKKO, we usually get them in these batches. But last time we talked, we covered the finale of Season 2, and we were speculating about when a Season 3 would come. And it came up pretty quickly, as it turns out. So we'll be getting into what we think about this beginning of the third season. I guess let's go to you, Michelle, first. How do you feel about this batch? Anything that stands out that you want to talk about immediately? Well, what's your feeling right now?
Season 3 is not playing around, and I kind of love it a lot. I don't know, did this feel like kind of revamped in a way to you guys, just in terms of even like, the animation or the detail of some of the shots, or just like, I don't know, like it seemed like every episode had a kind of like nice sentimentality mixed with the humor, or like a cliffhanger, or some like really good plotty thing that touched on, but like nothing felt like fluff. Like, and I love the fluff of the show, but like this felt a lot kind of leaner and more serious, sort of like, all right, Season 3, like let's really go. And I really like that. It definitely feels like a shift, but I think it's a really nice shift. Some of these episodes really like freaked me out, and we're gonna talk about it. But, I mean, yeah, I just feel like this season feels really like it's got a place it wants to go, and it's going to take us there. And we might not be able to catch our breath before we get to wherever it's going. I don't know. Like, this is a change, but like I'm digging it so far. I feel like sometimes it's hard with shows where like you've reached like a nice stride and you're like, I'm comfortable in this. But things have to change, because that's just the nature of like, no matter how many like seasons you have to keep changing it to make it interesting. And this feels like a really good kind of change for this particular show. So I'm all for it.
All right. Steve, how about you? How do you feel about these new episodes here?
Oh, I agree, Michelle. This season's definitely much more darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the TKO episode.
Oh
that
my
was really
God. That's the one that freaks me out the most. It was not Villainous being like,
no,
it was that.
See, I thought you were referring to Villainous, but okay.
No, that elevator shot at the end just completely made me lose my marbles.
It's dark because KO himself was implementing all that stuff.
Yeah, and he's a good boy.
And speaking of KO, I know all these episodes seem very KO-centric in this batch. Like, every episode really was big on KO. But, hey, I liked all some of these episodes. I love their new designs, their new uniforms.
Their outfits are so good. Spandex was such a good idea.
And a nice
job group.
And a nice surprise, though, is not only are KO, Rad, and Enid like going on missions, but also Dendy's part of the team as well. So,
oh my God, Steve, were you really excited about her hat? I was.
Yeah.
She looks so cute. She looks like a Girl Scout, or like someone who'd watch birds, or like, I don't know. It's a very cute hat, though.
Oh, so adorable.
Well,
and
let's give it respect. It's a beret.
Yay!
Yes.
Good job, Dendy's hat.
It's a beret.
Yeah.
The beret.
And one episode really stood out to me, though, is KO versus Fink, for 2 reasons. First of all,
yeah.
Fink's awesome and adorable, and I kind of feel bad for her at the end. But but the big story, though, it seems implying, just when we thought this theory was dead, that there's a connection between Shadowy Figure and Venomous.
Was it never really dead, though?
I mean, I wanted it to be dead because it just seemed too easy. Because how can Venomous be his dad? Like, what? He's in a committed relationship with Boxman. But like, I don't know what that would mean, and that's why I want to push it away.
Oh,
but
it's
not dead for sure. It's not dead.
I got my theory on that. I guess we can get to that later. But
yeah.
All right. I will say as well that I agree with the sentiment that this definitely feels like a notch above what the usual batch of OKKO episodes is, and I think it is that like it hits. I think you mentioned something about like it had already hit its stride and now it's changing. This kind of feels like OKKO previously was like doing a walk, a jog, but like here it's like ground running, like go even faster, and it's like I think like the stakes feel a little bit higher than usual OKKO episodes, especially with regards to the Venomous episode. I think that this show is finally beginning to do stuff that's a little bit more villainous, and I think that definitely helps the cause of this kind of show. So I really appreciate that. And I think that with the sentimental stuff, like, there are lessons that we've gotten from this show before, but I think they're done in a way where, like, because the KO is more mature now, so, like, I don't know, it feels like it hits a little differently than if you'd had the same episodes earlier in the show.
That's a great point. No, because Alex, I think that one of the big changes is, like, every time there was a problem before, it was pretty much wrapped up by the end of the episode. They would walk away with some kind of conclusion that made them feel all right. Like, they had some kind of closure. But with like the Fink thing and like the TKO thing, like that is not resolved. That's a lingering like shadowy doubt that throws in your face all these moral qualms, and that's like, yeah, it's more mature, and maybe it is because KO's older, and so the show feels comfortable getting into like, you know what, things don't always wrap up in 11 minutes. Sometimes problems are lingering for a long time, and it's not good or bad, and it's just messy and not, it's, you know, and that's kind of great. Maybe that's part of why this feels more intense, but I like it. I'm glad that we're here.
Well, like it's doing something a little bit different than the usual rhythm of OKKO, and so especially if we're to believe that this is like aiming for a final season, which like it kind of feels gives off that vibe. But like this is the perfect way to do it. Like it would end on like a high note and like really push your character. Now that you've done 2 seasons of building up your characters, now use them for dramatic stuff, right? And especially the Venomous episode like really hits me like with how they use their chemistry to like then like pull the rug out of you several times in that episode. So like that all works because like you've gotten to know them and like you buy their like reactions to when stuff is revealed. So I think that because of that, like this batch of episodes is pretty special with OKKO, and probably some of the best that we've had this year so far.
It really says something, though, in the episode when Chip Damage pretty much kills himself. It's like the most lighthearted episode of the batch.
Oh my god, that's a good point. Man. It kind of is, though.
I'm surprised it took you. You lasted more than 5 minutes without touching on Elodie. That's impressive by you, Steve.
Steve's evolving with the times.
Yeah, Steve. Everything's changing as the seasons go on. But yeah, so what do we talk about first? Like I really want to talk about the Venomous episode.
Okay, let's do it. Let's just go right to the throat.
Yeah, so like this episode, the KO trap. There's for a while we've talked. I think on this podcast we've mentioned that like Venomous has kind of been softened in like the end of season 2. Like we got stuck to his relationship with Botsman, which is nice and cute and wholesome.
His relationship,
yeah, it's all nice, but at the same time was kind of losing the villainous side of him that we had been introduced him with. So an episode like this comes along where just like the twists that they do, first of all, like the whole putting them in a box in the void is all like very, very well done, and like you see them like trying to keep their sanity. Then you get like the first twist of them getting gooified, and then you get the reveal that they all experience the same thing, and then they get gooified again by Venomous, and like Venomous is totally apathetic to it all.
And he says, like, he drops the bomb that, like, not only are they clones, but they're, like, perfect clones. They have souls and all of their real life memory. So they are like them. They are versions of them. They have a personhood and a humanity.
Yeah. And like at the same time, like he's just so uncaring about. Like he was busy like playing solitaire when they found him. It's like, oh yeah, that trap I set for you. So it's like our crew is like traumatized by it, and Venomous is just like whatever. Like, and they're like that's like very evil-ish. And like the way that it all comes down, like at the end, you get like the whole KO being like, I know we're not supposed to hate people, but I hate Professor Venomous. And you like, and like for KO being as sweet as he is, like you somehow, but you get it after like an episode like this, which is a lot more devious than the usual OKKO plot. So it's just the tone of this episode is a lot more a lot stronger than your usual OKKO evil person episode. So that's why it stood out to me. I was like, oh, okay, we're meaning business here, and like it pulls it off very well while still keeping in the OKKO themes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys, what your feelings were going through, like, the twists and turns of this episode.
I mean, it was a lot. I think, honestly, TKO Rules is when I think for that episode to happen, this episode makes a lot of sense. If we hadn't gotten TKO Rules chronologically first, this would have been, like, even more of a smack in the face to what, like, I believe to be true about the world itself. But I mean, there are some similarities here between those two episodes, and we'll get into TKO as a character later in that whole dynamic showdown. But I mean, KO's definitely taking a shift in his perception of truth and what is good and what is bad and what he's willing to do, and that's kind of a dark road in of itself. And I think that's like what unnerves me more than Venomous, because like we knew Professor, like his name is Professor Venomous. I mean, obviously he's not the best guy, but I think like KO and Rad and Enid's like just perception of like, wow, like he's willing to go super far. Like this is no box man. This is like pure evil. And and then KO's final takeaway, like, no, I like legit hate him though. I don't want to give him the benefit of a doubt. Like that is like such a turn for KO, but this isn't his first turn. And I think that's what, in conjunction with all these episodes, makes it so interesting. Like, oh man, KO's gonna go somewhere in this. I just feel, and it's probably not gonna be a great place, but maybe it's a necessary place. So who knows?
Like KO might go dark. He might turn. He might become you think he might at least willing to at least listen to shadowy figure?
I think maybe. I guess my fear is kind of like maybe KO is just gonna accept maybe some people are irredeemable and he's willing to get rid of them. Like maybe he's willing to do a murder. Basically, and what will that do to his moral conscience? And will that change him? And will that be a bad change? I don't know, but I feel like something's gonna happen for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to put. I think Venomous himself uses the phrase "pushing your minds to the brink."
And like, he says it in such a sexy way, which like kind of undercuts how evil that is.
Was Venomous at his sexiest in this episode?
I don't know if he's at his sexiest, but there's something about like the way he says things when he's very like impassioned with evil. I mean, I do know that clip like made its rounds on social media and people were losing their minds because they didn't know who he was, which is like, guys, if you liked that, like you need to watch everything with Venomous in it. He's like always on point. He's always that extra and it's so good.
Yeah, this is a really strong episode for Venomous. And also, I mean, well, Fink gets a lot more of an episode later, but I just like the gag of her
the bathroom.
on the toilet this entire
the toilet's broken! Oh my god.
Yeah. So that's Fink's entire contribution.
Well,
so giving Venomous the full floor here.
I guess the show does do total humor.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they have. KO like chased her through a toilet or something at one point. She went through a toilet to get to the bodega. So it's not even their first time touching that.
Yeah. Also, this episode is notable for like the time that we spend. The most of the first half of the episode is just KO, Rad, and Enid in that bots together and like dealing with their stuff. And on paper, like I feel that I was impressed by that in terms of like how like funny they kept it, and also at the end, like how emotional it got of like seeing them goofified. But just we've gotten to this point in the show where we know these three characters so well, so we're at least like I'm fine with just like them hanging out, like playing hacky sack and stuff, and but also it's totally believable their reaction, like Enid after like 15 minutes being like I'm bored, and Rad crying when he has to think about where to use the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
So like even though like all that is set up for when they eventually do their escape and like get gooified and all that turns. But I was impressed by like how the first half of this episode was pretty light as well, and it just does a very good job of highlighting the chemistry that these characters have at this point in the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Any other big things that stood out to you from this episode?
Did you guys believe for a second that maybe Rad at least had turned into goop canonically? I like kind of did for a second. It caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
The second time I did get that sensation, like, oh, did he actually get gooified? And we have to like do like some kind of or like reversing situation.
Yeah,
but
I thought maybe KO would have to scoop up their goop and like find a machine that would turn them back to normal. But I kind of believed for a second that maybe they were goop.
Yeah, it was just the layers of like getting gooified, then oh hey I found you, and then that getting gooified, and then
the second time I was like, either this is like legit dark or they're just more clones. And then I was like, oh JK, and poor KO's mind. Yeah,
I'm surprised though Venomous did that trick on Rad and Enid. I thought he might just concentrate just on KO. He might be the only one he really wants to mess with.
I don't know. He did seem particularly interested in KO, and that's why I was like, oh no, what if the laser blast thing is real? But like, I don't want to believe that's true, but it made me think about it a little more this time.
Yeah. So that had a lot of stuff. Also, a quick note, Enid does some witchy ritual. This is a brief mention of like reminder that she's a witch. So she gets to do some cool dancing, I guess. Yeah. So, but like, I think like the big part of this episode is just like Venomous and like the difference in tone at the end that this one takes. But like, very connected to this, we've already mentioned TKO Rules a couple of times, and I think that'll lead into what we think for KO going forward. Michelle, what are your reactions to the results of TKO Rules?
I was horrified. This is, I don't know. I can't believe KO did this because he should know that TKO. I mean, I don't think. Okay, so TKO messed up his house, and he was kind of messing up the street, and he shouldn't have had that jackhammer. But that's like kind of how he's always been. He isn't significantly worse than before, and just because he gets along with TKO, I can't see how KO would reasonably assume that he was just absolved of his entire urge to cause mayhem. That's kind of a core of his being, and I thought KO was okay with that and accepted that, and that they had found a good balance. But so for KO to be so shocked that this is the culmination of letting TKO have free control of his body, like I feel like that was dumb. Like KO, you should know better. to lock him away in his subconscious was such a like horrifying thing, because like that just says so much about KO that he's willing to do that, and you could see that it crushed TKO. Like he was on relatively good terms with him, and now TKO's like really not going to trust him, and there's no way that KO's not going to need him again in a fight later. He's stronger with him, and he knows that too, so he's throwing away this part of himself that's like very important to his power level, and like it's a big part of himself, and like that's not sustainable. But I think like the relationship damage of doing that is the biggest problem. And like again, the episode ends with this purple elevator instead of the cute cutouts we've had the whole other seasons, and that freaked me out because that is a huge statement. And I remember posting on Twitter afterwards, like, is this like the beginning of an elevator arc? And I think it must be, but like, I don't know, it just felt like so cold and so mean, and like the whole framing of the elevator like going down, and the way KO is acting, it's just like this dread just like filled me. And then the realization like, oh, he's locking him down here and he might never come back, and TKO has nothing. Like at least before, he had this sad little house in KO's brain, which again is like really sucks. And I remember talking about that before, how it sucks that he only has that and KO has the whole world. And now he doesn't even have that. Like, what is that going to do to TKO? I feel legitimately bad for him. But also, like, KO made that decision, and it is not a good decision. But he's going to have to live with that and the ramifications. So, based on that, I just feel like, yeah, that was the first episode that really made me go like, whoa, the season's not playing around. What are they doing with KO? Oh my God, this is just going to get worse before it gets better, probably. I still feel that way.
It feels definitely like KO made this big decision here. He gave away a part of his powers, which definitely become handy later, but really a part of himself. And, you know, I see the reactions to his friends. Like, what are Rad and Enid going to think that KO just gave away some of this power?
Yeah.
And especially, what Dendy going to think? Because I think he has a little crush on TKO. So.
Are we bringing that back?
See, I forgot about that. Was she into TKO?
Seems so. She's always excited when
she's curious about like what that means for his potential power and how that scientifically works to have like halves of himself. But she like, oh, like spiky armbands, like nice. Does she feel that way about him?
I don't know. Maybe.
I didn't pick off on that, but maybe I need to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, I will say as well that obviously you know that this is gonna come back and probably bite him badly in the future. I think it's interesting because I feel like OKKO a lot of times has given the message of, hey, you should have to share with others how you're feeling and be open with your emotions. So then to do this episode where it's someone making the conscious decision to suppress a part of them that has caused damage in the past, while in the short term that may be beneficial, but you know that in the long term it may come out and with more force because you were suppressing it.
Absolutely.
So I am very interested to see how this unfolds, because I think that it goes kind of against what OKKO has expressed in the past in terms of like how to deal with your emotional problems, but also like it's displaying like this is a common instinct to something that's like a part of you that you don't like. Sometimes the instinct is to push it down or to try hiding it. And we will see if that ends up causing more problems down the line, and we'll get the lesson of, hey, maybe suppressing parts of you that you don't like isn't necessarily the way to go. So, but I'm interested to see how it goes with unfolding that, because this is a higher concept of dealing with personality than TKO. The TKO arc has always been that, like dealing with like different sides of your personality, but this feels like another level of exploring that, you know.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like, well, obviously that is going to happen. I mean, if you push it down, it's going to come back with even more force than before. But the thing that makes TKO is kind of his own person too, but he's not really allowed to make any decisions that KO doesn't approve. And I don't know, I always felt weird about how he doesn't have autonomy. And I do hope that's something that is given more focus maybe this season, Because, yeah, I mean, TKO has what makes him TKO, and that is oftentimes punished, but there have been moments when KO has seen that as a strength, and that's been able to use that, and they've worked together to accomplish a common goal. But, like, by ruining his trust with TKO, I mean, I know TKO broke his trust, but he's also breaking TKO's trust, and they need to be able to trust each other. So even if he goes back down there and asks him for help now, TKO's not going to want to help him. Because look what he did. That is such a betrayal too. So because TKO has his own thoughts and opinions and personality and is kind of his own person, I'm really curious how that side of it's going to affect the story too. Because it's not just KO. I mean, TKO is a person sort of too. And I don't know. He really got crushed this time. And I feel really bad for him. And I don't know. Man, KO was just cold, though. Like, I get it. Like, Alex, you're right. He's like, in the moment, what do you do, right? If you feel like you've lost control or that you've done this thing you were so ashamed of, like, of course you'd be like, oh, I'm never going to do this again. Just like, nope, not going to think about it critically. Just never again, the end. But, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm super curious where this elevator arc is going. I'm scared, but I'm really curious too.
Is it an arc if an elevator just goes in a straight line?
No, it is, Alex, because
have you ever taken an elevator that curves?
We had an Enid arc. Next arc's going to be for TKO. Surprise! I thought maybe Boxman in my wildest dreams, but I'll accept this. Oh. It's going to be interesting.
No Radicles arc, huh?
The season's not over. Maybe we'll get one.
Yeah, I don't know if we got time for Rad, but maybe. I'll say also, like, the power of animation is especially present at the end of making that creep, because as you've already mentioned, like the whole void, the void representing his subconscious. You got like KO drawn kind of like in shadow for most of that. He's always like behind TKO. He's got his face blurred when he pushes TKO out the elevator, and then at the end, the final shot is TKO just shouting at the sky with it just in silhouette. So like then it's just the end. So I just want to like, there's a couple of different moments in this batch that like animation stood out, but like that whole sequence at the end is just like a good example of like OKKO being over the top in its animation and it working for fitting the vibe of that scene. So just that was all really good at that, and it helps to creep you out with the end of the elevator.
TKO follows him without question into that elevator, and I mean he sure isn't going to follow him anywhere else ever again. So yeah. It's just a lot. It's really interesting. It's a really well done episode.
It's like the brother betrays the brother.
Yeah.
You betraying yourself, sort of. This episode begins by like setting up that KO is a person who follows rules very closely. He gets one cookie and milk after school. Maybe he wants a second cookie now that he's older. And so TKO complains about the rules and tells him he deserves more freedom, and so he gets KO to play his video game while TKO gets control of the body. There's this whole the KO is stuck in TKO's house, and the main joke is that he gets to download an update to a game. He's busy reading it, and then as soon as it finishes downloading, installing updates. So like just that cut from like yay to is very relatable in terms of videos gaming in this universe.
Videos game.
TKO's offenses include doing graffiti all over the wall, feeding stray animals and letting them in the house.
I love that. I love that there are just all these animals outside just waiting for the chance to be invited in.
Yeah. They're like little stray dinosaur type.
Yeah, they're really cute. I mean, part of me wonders, like, maybe TKO just likes having company in his place.
Yeah, he's been alone down there for so long, and finally gets to let the animals in. Also, TKO begins messing with power tools outside. That's never good to let children go around jackhammers.
I thought it was a pleasant surprise, though, how nice he was with the animals. I thought maybe he was going to kick them or something.
Yeah, is feeding stray animals and letting them into your house evil?
No, I mean, and the thing is, like, I think part of why the betrayal to TKO hurts so much is TKO isn't being a dick to be a dick. He feels that all of Carol's rules are unjust, and he's trying to rebel to show that those rules shouldn't matter. So his goal was just I'm gonna break as many of these dumb rules as I possibly can to give the mom a lesson. And so I feel in his own way, he was trying to help KO out because he just didn't believe in the validity of those rules. And that's not it's misguided, but it's not him trying to be malicious. So again, punishing him like that, he's not gonna know why. He's not as smart as KO. So this just this is just gonna make everything so much worse for the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting read. I hadn't really thought about what's the positive spin on TKO.
Yeah, because he reads that list. He finds Carol's list of what not to do, and I will just point out one of the rules on there was to leave this toilet seat down. I've never had any guy who wasn't a dad not follow this. This is an important rule. Everyone who puts the toilet seat up, please put it down. No one wants to touch that toilet seat before they go to the bathroom. So if you put it up, you gotta put it back down. Mm-hmm. So good job, Carol's mom, spreading the word. This is an important one.
Public service announcement of the day.
Public service announcement. Put the toilet seat down, please.
Man, Michelle, you're on a roll tonight.
About toilets? I don't know.
In the middle of that, KO is reading a book by Carl Jung, who it talks about the ego, which that's their connection to psychological stuff going on in this episode. Mm-hmm. So this continues this and the Venomous episode are both very strong in terms of their tone getting dark at the end. Another one that kind of gets a little dark at the end is KO versus Fink. And this one is interesting for a variety of reasons. First of all, obviously Fink getting her own episode is a treat because, Fink is usually sidekick, so she gets to show up. We get a whole thing with KO dealing with insecurity that he is a mama's boy, although it ends up just being hey, I'm proud to be a mama's boy.
Yeah.
And we get a return of shadowy figure in terms of story.
Yeah.
So this episode is doing a lot.
Well, if KO was a mama's boy, TKO would not be in the situation he is now.
That's true. If he never listened to his mom, TKO would just agree with him on everything, probably.
But so I guess we'll talk about shadowy figure first. We kind of already touched a little bit when we were talking about Venomous. But basically his contribution is he's showing up in the shadows again, and he's hey, get angry, bring some glorbs.
You don't forget to bring glorbs to the sewer. I love that keeps coming back. That checks out my subconscious. You would tell me to bring glorbs into the sewer 3 times.
Oh man, and I got my theory about Venomous and shadowy figure.
Well, now we have to get into it.
Okay, my figure is shadowy figure could be Venomous's turbo mode, and they somehow broke off from each other, and that's kind of what I guess KO and TKO could do someday as well, which is just become separate entities.
Important in this theory, because I think you're onto something, Steve. In this episode, Shadow Figure shows up, but we also see Venomous, but he's very tired. He's very exhausted just at his table.
He's the co-founder of a company, though. Of course he's tired.
I just figured, the way I interpreted it was he was tired. He's trying to control Shadowy Figure. He was just trying to put him back at bay. He's worn out. That's the interpretation I got.
But why would he need to control Shadowy Figure if they're both evil? Wouldn't they have the same goal? I
don't know. Maybe different type of chaos. Maybe Venomous is more, non-chaotic evil. At least evil and Shadowy Figure's evil is just like way out there, way more like evil, even for him.
So Venomous is more like mental evil, and his alternate version's like physical evil.
Let's just say this: Venomous might be a type of villain that may just want to rule the world, while Shadowy Figure might just want to watch the world burn and laugh.
Okay.
Another theory I saw floating out there is that what if Shadow Figure is like a projection done by Venomous, where like he's literally a shadow?
Well, that would explain why it's so hard to figure out what he looks like. If he's just like if he isn't really even a person, then of course it'd be hard to pin down who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like he's like exerting his energy to like produce a shadowy figure wherever KO is at that particular moment in time.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're using Shadowy Figure and Venomous in the same episode feels important in a way. So we got that going on. And how do you guys feel about Fink in this episode? I mean, she's kind of a bit one-dimensional in terms of her motivation, which is just to show up KO for being a mama's boy. But
that's not one-dimensional. I mean, I pegged her the second she called him a mama's boy. But what I thought was going to happen is it was going to be like she misses her rat mom from the sewer, and she's bitter that KO still has his mom. But I like that they flipped it into just like, so Venomous basically is her dad, and while he's established to by her presence before in the past, whenever anything would happen, it's not a substitute for real bonding, and that's what she wants. She wants something with care, not something he can just give her and then go do his own thing. And I will say, like, you can see Venomous as being like just flat out mean to her, but the first time she asked him, he's just more like tired than he is angry. I think like if he wasn't such a busy guy, he would totally make that cupcake with her. But he's got a lot on his plate and a short fuse, and he is a villain, so it's not going to happen. But he does genuinely care about her.
I think the lesson of this episode is when someone bullies you, it's really because they have their own insecurities they got to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm surprised though the heroes never really completely picked up on that. I thought that was what Enid and Rad were going to say when they're advising KO. It's like that's the way a bully is because they have their own insecurities.
Yeah, it was interesting that the advice was like, because KO was saying like, shouldn't I just get angrier and show them how much they hurt me? They're like, nah, man, you just tell your friends so they can make you feel better. Like, I guess maybe the logic is like, if someone's bullying you and you tell them that they're hurting your feelings, that's just going to encourage them, maybe. But like, shouldn't part of like trying to talk something out with somebody of a conflict with be like, look, man, that's not funny. That sucks. And maybe you don't want to do a thing that sucks. I don't know. It just surprised me. They're like, nah, don't tell them how you really feel. Just tell your friends.
I kind of want an origin of Fink and Venomous and how they met. And I kind of want the origin of why, like, Fink calls him boss and not dad or something. And why? Who insisted on that? Whose idea was that? It
was probably Venomous. I think he just needs the boundaries. He's like, I can't be your daddy, man. Like, but you can work for me, and we can have a very close familial relationship. But titles are important. I feel like he's the one that put that on her.
That seems in character for Venomous.
Yeah.
I just quickly want to say with what Rad said, I think it's more like you don't want to internalize something that a bully is saying about you. You should trust in the people that you already trust to tell you, to be honest with you about who you are. And it's like, they say like, sure, you're a mama's boy, but that's not a bad thing. And so they're putting it in a way that KO will understand and trust more because they know him a lot better than Fink knows him. So it's like, that's what I got from that statement. Well, I agree, like, the classic thing would be like, just like remember that the bully has insecurities and they might be jealous and stuff. But like also like don't let what the bully is saying affect your view of yourself is also an important thing to take away from that, right? So then like after that they do like a whole love formation like a heart thing, just like really over the top of like loving yourself, but That's the show. And then at the end, like as you meant, like it does turn a lot more to Fink's side of things. And again, this is another episode where it ends on like a very sad tone, like
unresolved issues. Yeah. I love it.
Like the end thing just shows up when she just lays in her bed face down, and just like the music kind of stops. It's all very like melancholy. So yeah, poor Fink.
But honestly, Boxman probably doesn't make cupcakes for any of his children either, but
oh no,
it just you just feel for Fink in that moment.
Yeah. Other random stuff in here. Rad is busy doing yoga poses throughout the episode.
He's doing a good job. He's more flexible than I thought he was.
Yeah, I mean that's how he stays fit. He does a variety of exercises. KO like goes through his whole inner monologue. I feel like there's a lot more inner monologue in these episodes in general than we've had. I mean, like I think in the very beginning of the show we did that, and then it kind of went away. But now we've gone back to like hearing KO's thoughts a lot more, so that's an interesting thing. Especially in this episode, we get a lot more. I wanted another piece of animation that stood out to me was the actual fight between KO and Fink, where like KO gets really angry and Fink is like all in. The music gets a lot jauntier. They do like power fists at each other. It's all like go in the air. I think that there's been like other fights like this in the past, where like they're kind of like flying in the air, and I think that this show just does a really good job of like those kind of fights, and like making them very anime style. So just I enjoyed that, the whole choreography of that going on. Anything else from this episode you guys want to talk about before?
How about cupcakes? Like,
do you want to talk about cupcakes? Steve?
I don't know. I got nothing.
Oh God. See, the episodes are blending together, but I think this episode, when the box falls, it actually says VM on it instead of BM, and that's just another subtle sign of the merging of the companies being a thing. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that continuity.
Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about these about the two episodes of We Are Heroes and KO Rad and Enid together, because I think that those two are very connected to each other. Those are kind of like the intro episodes to this season, and dealing with the chemistry between KO Rad and Enid. They're both good episodes, although I think, at least for me personally, I think they're a step down from like the top episodes of this batch, but they're still pretty good. And like, but I think that these episodes are giving off more lessons that we've kind of gotten in this show before, in terms of like highlighting what KO's skill is and like working on them being okay with being unique, sort of stuff. But it's still fun enough. I don't know how you guys felt about these two episodes here.
I mean, it felt of note to me that the first kind of musical score we get is the first musical score from the first episode of the first season. Oh. And I was like, what does that mean? And to me, I kind of felt like a big thing the first episode was doing was just like taking stock of like, all right, this is like the first episode, but everything's different because now like so much time has passed and look where our heroes are now. They've come a long way, but the journey's not over. Like I was totally getting that kind of vibe, just setting us up for like, okay, like we've progressed a lot, but like, what are we going to do next? And it felt like a nice kind of homage to the first episode. So I liked it. Plus, like, I honestly am really digging their outfits. I am a little sad they only wear them for those two episodes because they're so good. The spandex looks so good on everyone.
I'm sure we'll see it again.
Ways. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see it again.
I hope so.
They gotta go on more secret missions. Maybe they only wear them for their secret missions.
I think that's it. They only wear for the secret missions.
But if they change outfits when they go on a secret mission, people will know they're on a secret mission. Then it's not a secret anymore.
That is a good point.
Other changes that are visible in these episodes. Sparko is the new cashier at the bodega now, so I guess he's gonna be hanging around in this episode. We have, I don't know if this Ted Viking person has shown up before. Maybe.
Okay, we need to talk about that.
Okay.
Is he dating the fox?
Definitely. I think they're at the very least cohabitating, if not more.
Oh my god, they're such an item, and I love it because she's like a scarf for him, and it just works really great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a top quality couple right there.
What I say last time, watch you retire, go find someone, and live a happy life. So you follow my advice.
Steve co-signs this. Yeah, 2 thumbs up from us for that pairing.
I'll just say that they refer to her as Mrs. Fotsy, but that raises the question: is she married to Ted Viking, or is she like on the side? What's going on?
They're together, but she didn't give up her last name, which is smart because that involved all this legal paperwork, and they don't tell you about that, but it's true. So I think she's definitely with him, but she's like, nah, I'm not gonna. I am a Foxy still. I'm not changing my name, but I still love you, and they just worked it out.
Yeah. As mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, Dendi has a beret now. She has a mission coordinator. She only shows up in this first episode, but that's enough, I guess, for Dendi.
I'm sure we'll get a Dendi episode later this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In that whole intro, we get like the whole putting up the text of their strengths and weaknesses. The only ones there was a lot there, but the only ones that I wrote down were that Enid has a weakness of chronic tummy aches.
Aww.
And that KO is allergic to peanuts because allergies exist in this universe still. So, is anybody here allergic to peanuts? No. Okay. Good.
You're gonna send us peanuts, Alex?
Yes. That'll be the finale. We'll just eat peanuts together.
No, we need to eat corn for the finale. What are you saying? This is a corn show. Yeah.
There probably was a corn reference in that whole witchy ritual that Enid was doing. There might have been something in there that I missed. But so we had all that, and then KO, Rad, and Enid, it's like them fighting over needing some kind of gimmick to stand out. They like do a whole wearing costumes. There's a scene where KO goes to his house angry, and like he interrupts Carol and Gar having a romantic sandwich.
Such a teenager! Oh my god!
Yeah. It was like, you don't understand, Mom.
And Carol's such a savvy adult. She's just like, he'll figure it out. She just leaves him alone to stew.
Raymond is in this episode.
Oh my god,
hey,
Raymond was so on point. Like, he is pointy, but he did a really good job with his flower arms also.
Did you agree with his assessments of taste in the Lakewood Plaza?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's harsh in his criticisms, but he's not often wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That includes insulting the fashion sense of the little bunny.
Well, I mean, he wasn't wrong in that because he's like, you're just like a child, but the bunny is a child, so like he's still kind of right. There's nothing wrong being a child, but they do wear shorts.
Wow, okay. And I'll say, Enid works the barbarian look pretty well. That could have been an episode, just Enid being a barbarian. I liked it anyway. And also briefly, the Cactus Crew was mentioned as like a callback a while ago.
It's been forever since season 1. I don't think we've heard about them.
Yeah, and also the Hue Troop was referenced. I know we were talking about when Red Action is going to show up, but so they at least still exist in their thoughts, so that they'll be around somewhere.
Question: do you guys think Red Action or Elodie is going to be endgame for Enid?
I will say that I think that Red Action, if there's any end game, it has to be Red Action because we'll get to the Chip's damage, but like the chemistry that I get from them is like they're still close friends, but they kind of drifted apart. Now they're back to being friends. But like that's kind of where it is right now. So like I don't sense it really with Elodie anymore. But like Red Action, I think that can still happen.
It's always been there. Like she went to the future for her. You don't do that for just anyone.
Yeah. Steve, how do you feel about this Red Action versus Elodie?
Who was endgame for Enid?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not. I know who to pick right there. I'm just excited though that can you repeat the question one more time?
Well, who is Endgame for Enid?
Yeah.
Enid. I think
it could be Elodie or Red Action.
Ooh, it could be either way. Ooh, this is my spot of tea here. My thing is more of she got both of them. That's but my
you can't. No.
In an ideal world, we would do an OT3, but we can't do that.
Okay. Now you gotta put me in a spot here. Okay. Who I think is better? I think they all have their own positivity that's good for Edith. Ellie's sort of she's more like in control. She's more like grounded, while Red Action is more rebellious. And I think those two sides really contradict with each other. But I don't know. I need to see more of more Enid and Red Action have more episodes. I've seen a lot of Enid and Elodie of late, so that's sort of in the lead right now.
Okay.
All I know is there's anyone but Enid and Rad. I mean,
I'd be severely disappointed because their friendship has been built up as such a pillar of the show so far. I agree.
But I still need that big episode would have Red Action and Elodie interact, really play a big role. Both of them play a big role in the same episode.
They will when Enid and Red Action get married and Elodie gets to be the best man.
Have you noticed? No, now Elodie has her new promotion. She's sort of the adult, like authority figure. In a way, she is the Queen Angelica of this show right now. She's more like her than she was previously. So,
Elodie is a main character in Chip's Damage, and that's the last episode we need to talk about.
Good segue.
From Red Action to Elodie, as many conversations have gone in this podcast history.
This was all right. This was an all right episode, though. Elodie didn't have much interaction with Enid. That kind of takes the episode down a little bit.
Oh, wow. Well, I will say that this is actually the best Elodie episode, honestly.
Is it?
I think so, because it gives Elodie, motivation that feels noble for once. So that's like, honestly, I enjoy Elodie being like kind of snooty and, kind of a distance and needing to be won over. That all was great. But I also like Elodie finally being like an actual hero person. Like even with, they do a bad decision initially of reactivating Chip Damage. But I like seeing her like work through that and realizing that she's done wrong and then like making the right decision. So all that feels, I don't know, kind of cozy for
and
me.
She seemed like this episode the most we see Elodie act like a little kid, which I thought was so adorable. Made her look so cute.
Well, yeah, we see like it's a different side of Elodie than we've seen before.
Yeah, she's always so guarded. She kind of tries to hide that side from her. So, and nice to see is she's more loose with her personality. She's not as guarded as she was before, and I think that shows some character development.
I do love hearing her backstory about the Chip Damage fan forum.
Yes.
And how she was like the founder of the biggest one online. It's like, I've met people like that over like Steven or Cora stuff, and it's so real though. You like have this idea of what a person like that would be, and then when you meet them in person, there's totally different. You're just like, oh, that was you, this legendary person in this really niche like fandom community. It's great. I love that's a part of her backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that whole sequence was great. It's like it's very of this time, like just the whole feeling of knowing someone on the internet and then like finding them in real life. It's like, oh, I talked to you already on the internet.
Yeah. Plus, it gives LD a little bit of like a nerd background, which I also love.
Yeah, her username is Damaged Princess 555.
That's a good one, Damaged Princess. That it fits.
And that's a very interesting name. That's very telling, Damaged Princess.
Okay.
Maybe so.
The actual focus of this episode is that they're reactivating Chip Damage despite KO's ambivalence, or as he says, ambient feelings.
Here's my thought, and here's one thought. When KO said, "Are you sure I'm the right person for this? The pre-programming Chip?" And the first person I thought about is, why don't we get Dendi? This might be more her thing.
Oh my god, you're so right. Danny knows way more about the robot tech than any of them. That's so true.
Yeah. This actually does feel like a missed opportunity.
Maybe they were just looking at it as like a Chip Damage fan club goggles kind of like, oh, we love Chip Damage the most, so we have to do it. But they should have been thinking of it from a literal, like, logical, like, who knows robots in the technology perspective. Yeah. Maybe that's why it was an oversight.
Well, and this whole episode deals with it in an interesting angle in terms of, like, Chip Damage representing, like, the peak of heroism. Like, we kind of ignore the fact that he's a robot even though, like, obviously, like, he gets introduced with that, like, the horrifying scream and, like, his head kind of, like, popped off of his stuff. But, like, at the same time, we're not really focusing on that side of it, but more on, like, what he represents. And we also have this whole conversation with Grayman as well later about, like, hey, like, this actually worked at least for you two because it inspired you to be heroes. And the ending is Chip Damage like giving a whole speech about how you need to like love the people. Chip Damage and Elodie and KO giving speeches about like, hey, like love the heroes around you every day, sort of thing. So it's just it felt very motivational at the end, even though like Chip Damage is just like a robot person, but somehow that wasn't really the focus of this.
It's what he meant as a figurehead versus who he actually is.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I just realized, I'm just thinking it probably more likely Enid and Elodie more endgame because they are from the same time period, so...
That has not stopped Red Action yet. Yeah, I don't see
I know, I'm just saying if which is more likely, I'm just saying which had more obstacles. Just realized that.
Okay, that is true. There are more obstacles with the future ladies.
We'll see.
First,
we should do a podcast about just Enid's love life, just a complete.
Okay, can we do like a joint podcast of like the two evil gay dads and also the gay love triangle?
Yes.
For all the queers. Yes.
Okay, KO, just queer representation podcast.
Yes. We can get so many hits. I think we should.
Yeah. You guys handle the boxman, filling stuff. I'll handle the Enid stuff.
All the work.
Yeah.
This makes an odd transition because I was about to mention how interesting Chip looks with the tight shirt and the glasses.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I was interested by that look too.
There you go. You got yourself a new fan, Chip. Good job with that shirt.
Yeah. He has some interesting delivery there. He's like, I am a hollow man. Elodie, a real life man.
Real life man. Such a good line.
Yeah, and he ends with, I love you all, goodbye, and he self-destructs.
And this is the episode when Elodie's like, her Australian accent was most noticeable. Like, she just couldn't control her accent this episode. And all the stuff she's done between this and She-Ra, I'm just saying everything. Like, this is the most Australian she's been. So, wow. It must have been a really fun episode to record.
Yeah. Elodie is very, very extra in this episode. Is there anything else here? There's a scene where like they're testing out Chip, and like Brandon is stuck in a vending machine, and this Chip just explodes. It's like, you ruined my life. So that was all.
Almost murders Crinkly Wrinkly. I will say, Crinkly Wrinkly is like low key one of my top 4 favorite characters. He's so weird. Yeah, he's so weird. When Ian decided to do like a Crinkly Wrinkly stamp for San Diego Comic-Con's poster last year, I was like, oh my god, sign me up. Somehow I need to get my hands on this. There's no Crinkly Wrinkly stuff anywhere. No one makes fan art of him. No one makes cute little keychains of Crinkly Wrinkly. This is my one chance to get anything. I think he's a remarkable, weird old cat man. Like, I honestly do.
All right. I can't say I share your love for him, but
that's okay.
I will respect it.
Not the same like love I have with this female love triangle, which I love, but I just can't have a straight answer for because I just created. I just don't know how to finish it.
That's okay.
Yeah, but as we begin to finish this podcast, do you have any final thoughts on this batch before we begin saying our goodbyes, Steve?
Oh. definitely need to see more of this Fink and her story, more development there. I still want Fink and Dendy episode, just to have those two interact. I still need to see that cuteness explosion. And yes, I still want those 3 females to be in one episode centered on them, and let's just see what happens there. Let's see what
marriage.
Oh, and can you imagine though? Maybe the episode. I do hope. Well, I was long shot that the series ends with Boxman Venomous wedding.
That would honestly I would ascend the heavens if they put a ring on it.
Even if they have to be in jail, even if it's in jail, that's fine.
It's in jail. That's a good point. I don't care where it happens as long as it happens. Period.
Michelle, any final thoughts?
Well, now I just really want that wedding, but also the elevator arc is real. This is just the beginning, and I'm terrified and excited, but honestly, mostly really scared of where it's going to go. And that's an exciting feeling. I don't go into this show being afraid a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So that's a fun adjustment, and I'm here for it.
All right. And I am also very excited for whenever we get more OKKO episodes. Toby Jones put out an outline of the episodes we've gotten so far and the expected order that they're supposed to come out in. And there are 2 episodes there that we haven't gotten yet. Whatever Happened to Rippy Roo and Planet X. So we at least know that those
I looked at a chart that there's also an episode that's supposed to in between a couple of these episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My guess that's a holiday episode.
Maybe.
Wow.
There's a couple of question marks there, and you get the sense that season 3 is going to be a lot shorter than previous OKKO seasons, so it's definitely a situation where we want to savor them while they last. But I think that this batch of episodes, we're all in agreement, sets us off on a really high note to begin this final season. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so whenever we get another batch of OKKO episodes to talk about, we'll be here to break them down. But until then, you can find out the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord if you want to chat with us about OKKO or any other show we cover here at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Dr. Cabbagehead. Thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, and Michael. Besides OKKO, we've also been covering Fruits Baskets recently. We've covered Summer Camp Island, Miraculous Ladybug,
Amphibia.
We had an Amphibia podcast a while ago. We had we were covering Final Space. So a wide variety of shows that we cover here. We also occasionally cover movies. We talked about Toy Story 4 recently. We will probably talk about The Lion King a little bit later.
Is that animated?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, what they say.
Go listen to our Lion King retrospective for more discussion on that topic.
I'm kind of disappointed though. I wanted a movie though, just animals, no voices. We don't hear just animal sounds. Let's just do a Lion King version.
Just
that way.
Rawr for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So all that and more you can find at overlyanimated.com. But until then, we will come back and talk about OKKO a little bit more whenever that comes back. But until then, thanks for listening and talk to you later. Goodbye.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.